So I'm here with Michael and Rachael Cudlitz, the director and producer of On Earth as It Is in Heaven. Thank you guys for joining us early in LA, and thank you for sharing your film and allowing us to have the East Coast premiere of it here at our second annual Coconut Grove Film Festival. How are you guys?
Awesome.
Good. Thanks for having us.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So I was so happy, like Duncan is one of my best friends and longtime collaborator, and I called him like, Duncan, we're doing this festival for the second time. Do you have any films in mind? And he immediately, mentioned yours. So I'm so excited. I think he's going to be able to come, which is going to be super
awesome.
cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic.
So can you tell me a little bit about how the film came to be?
Okay, well. Hi, guys. I'm Michael Cudlitz, the director of On Earth as It Is in Heaven, and my wife Rachael wrote and produced this with me. We started out initially with this project. It was a short story that Rachael had written. And to make a long story short, because a lot of this has to do with her evolution as a writer, coming from starting out as an actor when we met, leaving that behind, writing passively through her career, then really getting into seriously writing the last 10 years, but more sort of
Literary fiction,
yeah.
stories, things like that.
and then moved into film and television script, which I pushed her into because of my career as an actor, and reading her stuff, just knowing how, because of her history as an actress, everything that she wrote came from character and story. So this really came out as of us wanting to fully produce something that she had written, and she wrote a short story that she evolved into this short film.
And also, it's an opportunity for us to work together. We've been, a life couple for a very long time, but to work together. So we were like, well, we would like to work together, but doing a short seemed like, dipping into it without like making a full commitment. So it's kind of like a date. It's like a real date to see if we could actually work together.
It's like we got engaged, but of course, but the engagement could be called off at any point.
Any moment.
And how was that first experience dipping your toes into working together?
Oh my God, it was awesome.
Pretty amazing.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
When you have someone who understands how you think, I will say that the way the film ended up looking and the sentiment of it, the feeling of it, the weight of it was all in my head. And it's on the page too, don't get me wrong, but because I'm working with someone who understands the way I think and what's important to me, it was, honestly, as a writer, I think it was probably one of the best experiences you could have, because I wasn't worried that he was going to screw it up. You know what I mean? He wasn't going to be like, oh no, we're going to have a dancing sequence here or something. It was like, it was the film that I
have a vision. No, trust me. Trust me.
It's going to be great. No, it was completely, it was easy as pie. And honestly, I think we had the best time working together. We had an amazing crew. Michael's so organized as a director, which I think, I got to see a side of him that I don't normally get to see on a day-to-day basis. Not that he's not an organized human, but to see that clarity and that hard work and that focus on doing the work was just a pure joy to be around.
I have a bunch of production and technical questions, but before I get to that, the film feels like the beginning of something. Is it part of a bigger story?
Interesting you say that. That was not the intention. The intention was just to do this. It has gotten a lot of that response because obviously it's a very interesting, intriguing world with two very interesting and intriguing people. And so I will tell you that I'm working on a feature.
Awesome. So a couple of just production questions and then a couple of posts, just because I want to know how you work with Duncan. Tell me, Michael, your inspiration behind the kind of 3-minute first shot.
Oh, wow. That's such a great question.
The, the whole sort of idea in my mind with the short is you want to tell an amazing story, obviously, in a very short amount of time. And usually you have the time and the luxury of a feature or any kind of long format, you have a lot of time to set up what's going to happen. In our instance with what happens in the film, it all happens very fast and it all happens very chaotically and it all happens very much near the middle and the end of the film. So I wanted to juxtapose all that and sort of really set the table of what you were about to happen, because I don't think you can be in chaos for 20 minutes without getting exhausted and without really having that chaos and that the twist in the end have an impact. So I really wanted to sort of really set the table, have everybody sort of relax into it, having no idea what you're going to be in for, and really juxtapose what you were going to be in for with that calm, quiet, he's asleep, we don't know what's happening, really set up those fast edits and those cuts that are coming, and ease you into it, and sort of trick you in a way, lull you into a false sense of what you're starting to create, what you think this might be, isn't at all what it is. And so I remember talking to her about this and saying, hey, I have this idea, and I think, because the way it was written was there was a series of shots that established where we were, and I was like, I think I want to really tie this all in one piece visually and go from evening to day, and then not just, I don't know, people are not going to see this till after they see the film, but spoil anything, but just really sit in that piece as long as we could, before you really smacked in the face with what happens after.
And I will say that it was this conversation back and forth. It's not that I was hesitant about it. It was that I thought it was a risky thing to do, to have that. Normally, we're so accustomed to like, this is happening, cut. And this was this long, very cinematic breath before we get involved. And it's interesting because there are some people that really love it.
I was just going to say this.
And there are some people that it is uncomfortable. I won't say they don't like it. It makes them feel uncomfortable. And part of me is like, good.
And I would say
an uncomfortable thing.
My TV friends, my TV producer and director friends don't all love it. And my friends who are more into film and cinema love it. So I think it's very telling about our culture and how we consume our infotainment, as it were. That really affects how I think we view our art, which is interesting to me, because you really do get that sort of MTV conditioning. At least for my generation, it was that. It was like, oh my gosh, there's all these cuts. What are we doing? And now the people who watch TV, they're very, very used to that. And when you stay in a shot too long, can get, very uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, when I'm going through Netflix and it says slow burn, I'm like, I usually can't, because in film I'll allow that. Like I like a slow pace in a movie, but actually, funny enough, for TV I don't. And then can you tell me a little bit about kind of like your shoot days, etc.? Because I thought I saw something that was super interesting in there. The sequence where I felt like, okay, this was the most expensive sequence, which was the nighttime in the town. I'm like, they had a town and they had a town set and they had extras, and you're only in there for like a few seconds. So it's like probably a less experienced filmmaker would have been like, oh my God, I have all of this. I'm gonna squeeze every second out of it and overdo it. So I thought that was super interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, we the entire we shot it over the course of 3 days. It was 1 day, a split, and then a full night, and it was in that order. and we didn't really shoot it. I mean, we shot it mostly in sequence so far as the first half of the film, but then the end of the film was actually shot on the first day as well. The first day was all the daylight stuff out by the tree, all of it, except for the sunset, which is the very, very end. And the very end was shot on our what I call our split, which is really mostly evening. Was our and for those who don't know what a split is, it's when you shoot half day and half night. For those watching that may or may not know. And any portion of that, sometimes you favor your day with one shot at night or a couple scenes at night, and sometimes you'll flip it the other way, where you'll have a little bit of sunset or daytime, put your lunch time in there to get you into full night, and then shoot more evening stuff, exterior. And the situation arose where we realized that we would benefit more of us with our sunset. We could get deeper into our sunset if we shot it on the second day, because we were initially going to shoot our sunset on our first day, but we had a minor girl, a very young girl, that we could only work a certain amount of hours. So we had to be very cognizant of that. So we pushed that sunset till the next day. Initially, the second day was just supposed to be the town, and all the town is those shots that we see. And there was a lot of prep that went into that as well, and being in and out, and short and on a low budget. A lot of the time spent in the town that you were saying you would spend shooting, a lot of that time was spent lighting it. Because it is a town in the middle of nowhere. So there's no power out there. So all the power we had to bring was generated power, and the grips and the electric needed time to set all that up, and they were doing that while we were shooting the sunset. And then we popped into the town because, again, in the middle of nowhere, we had to bring in all our lighting, get all our background dressed and makeup, and our horses and the rig had to be all set up. We had a wrangler, and there's a lot of issues going on with the town. So in some ways, we did use it a lot because it took up a lot of our resources and our time. Just in getting it ready to shoot.
I will say that when I wrote it, and this is a naivete and a screenwriter's point of view, completely naive. When I wrote it, I was like, I had a town, I had horses, I had a fight, I had a minor. I mean, it was like everything you could. The only thing I didn't have was a dog, or a car chase. I agree that the town is just this short little blip, but it's extremely important for world building. And also, we were very fortunate in the location that we got, because if you turn the camera away from the tree, the town was right there. We had an amazing location. So we were paying for the entirety of the location. So the town didn't necessarily cost us.
Is it Sable Ranch?
Sable Ranch up in
it's a
Valencia.
It's a film ranch.
That's funny. I thought the tree was like off Topanga or something like that, or Malibu Road.
The location. All of our set pieces were in the same location. So the tree was up the hill, down the hill was the town, and off a little bit was the barn.
So our base camp was really a hub for everything, and everything spurred off that. So the base camp only had to move when we moved to the barn, because we wanted to have everything closer to the barn.
Speaking of lighting and wranglers, how did you do tell me a little bit about the shot of the horse's leg moving. Oh. Because I thought that was super well lit. It was interesting. It was definitely something that I was like, how did they do that? The
horse, the leg and the horse, that the horse is doing that because the horse is a little stressed out. And we were giving, we had a wonderful animal wrangler.
She was great.
And I had asked, why is that? She goes, she's a little stressed out. So we gave the horses a lot of breaks in between when we weren't using them. They were taken out of the barn when they were not used. Inside the barn, it was a lot of that stuff presented itself on the page so far as what we wanted to shoot. But then when you get things like actors and children, sometimes children and actors are the same. Me being an actor, I can say that. A lot of the magic starts to happen once you just set the scene and you see things and you notice them and you grab them. I wanted, when he woke up, I wanted the disorientation of what was happening, and that, I remember Rachel and I both went to California Institute of the Arts for acting. And I remember we had an incredible amount of exposure to experimental film and experimental theater. And I remember one of these films that we saw.
Yeah, he's just
our
being
dog
really
has
bossy.
decided
I'm just like, hello, baby.
Denver has entered the
Super
chat.
bossy.
I remember, a film. I don't remember the name of it, but so I think it's one of the first experimental films. But there's this, it's the film that every film student sees, I'm sure, where they're slicing open the eye of the cow's eye. There's a lot of close-up shots and this sort of disorient. And I remember thinking, oh, this is a really great opportunity for me to sort of be looking through our drunk's eyes, and what do you see when you wake up? That feeling of, where am I? What's going on? Which is literally what happens to him out in the field, but now he's doing it in real time, and he's able to start to put the pieces together. So, seeing the horses being agitated and realizing, well, this is really what our main character is going through. How can we capture that? And that sort of looking up and the awkwardness of the audience not really knowing where they were as well, and then we sort of get to feel that discomfort, and by then we're starting to get into those quicker shots that we were talking about earlier, and leaving behind that sort of lyrical feeling of being out in the West in this beautiful, serene countryside, and we're sort of getting more inside of his mind. So that all came together really through just being in the space with all the elements in place.
And the horses were great. They add a literal wild element to it, which is awesome. Unpredictable. I mean, I was nervous for Jamie because he's right there, but the Wrangler was awesome. She really knew what she was doing, and she knew her horses. And aside from being nervous, he was also apparently being showy. He was like, "Look at me, Mom. Look at me, Mom. Look at me, Mom." She's like, she tried to go. No. He's great. He's great.
That leg movement felt so fancy in the shot that if you told me it was CG, I would have believed you.
Well, also, and the horses, because they're so big, there was this wonderful thing that had happened during the fight, and it got very loud in there when we were on our wide. We have two actually wider shots. They were sort of masters, but we're on the other side of the horses, so traditionally it wouldn't be the master because our action is happening in the front. It really would have been, the master really would have been back the other way across the fight with the horses in the background. But having the whole barn and being able to hold the horses, and the horses, hearing the Jamie beating him, and the horse shifts and moves, we're able to sort of pull ourselves out of that violence, and it almost becomes more violent because it becomes something that's like so violent you can't look at it. Mm-hmm. And when we get to pull back far, and the horse really just tells you everything you need to know. So I loved our horses.
So how did you guys meet 2024 Emmy award-winning sound mixer Duncan McRae?
Oh my gosh. This is an
long
amazing
story. Jumping all the way back to Cal Arts, which does not involve Duncan. It involves my roommate at the time, multi-award winning and nominated Todd Toon, who Duncan works with. Todd was my third roommate, meaning myself, Julian Stone, and Todd rented a place in North Hollywood or Studio City. We had an apartment, and Todd was never home. Todd worked nights. He worked for a company called Dane Tracks, and he was one of the sound editors. I think at the time, editor, mixer, like everything, sound design, the whole thing. So he was like a one-man show, and that was 30 years ago. And Todd has since obviously had an amazing career, but he works now at Formosa Group, and I contacted Todd and I said, "Hey, buddy, I'm looking for somebody to mix this and do the editing, and I don't have anyone. We have some money, we don't have a ton of money, but I know obviously you're huge. I don't want to bother you with this, but I know you might know some people who are coming up who might want to do this." And he said, "Well, send it over. I'll take a look at it, and I'm sure I can recommend somebody to you." So I send it over, and Todd calls me back almost immediately, and he says, "Dude, okay, I'm doing the sound design on this for you. I have a great mixer. We're going to take care of this. We got this. I'm going to handle it." So we didn't know Duncan. Todd brought Duncan in, and Duncan is Todd's guy and his first go-to, and we were floored when we came in. I mean, the amount of resources that they gave to us was insane.
And the texture and care that they put into the world that we built is, for me as a novice filmmaker. Sorry, our dogs have lost their minds right now.
Guys, come on.
It's really bad.
Delilah, come on, good girl.
I'm so sorry, but seeing the
Rachel doesn't realize this is going to be, that is the best part of this interview.
Yeah, the clip we used in the promo.
Everybody gets so precious. That's the best part.
These dogs. I was going to say, for me to learn all the different artists that and artistic endeavor that goes into creating a full rounded film was extremely enlightening and unbelievably joyous on my part, because being around all of these creatives who really know what they're doing and take into consideration. So the sound design, it's something that you don't, if it's done right, you don't know it, but man, you feel it. And Duncan and Todd did such incredible work. I mean, little things like at some point there's a lizard that walks along the tree, and I was just like, everything, flies, wind, birds, just the I don't know how to describe it, but the substance of the air. I mean, you could feel it, and I was
It's so important for this movie, I think.
Yeah, and
because there's no dialogue. I mean, there's such little dialogue.
Jumping back to that first shot, really establishing, the sound. The shot takes us from night to to dawn through the day. That's all. That all has to be sound designed. Because there are the night sounds, the morning sounds. And they are very different. And the two of them just love doing that.
You could tell they had a lot of fun.
They had a blast doing it.
Which was great for us, because it's like that's what we wanted the entire as producers. We wanted the entire experience to be fun for everybody. I mean, things get intense, but we wanted joy and fun, and it was a truly joyful experience.
While not to offend any of my other crewmates, but working with Duncan is my favorite part of the film. And for my feature film, he did all the sound. Like it's a one-man band. He created all the sound effects.
I think when
everything.
I think when they love the film, they love doing that, because I do feel when you get into the professional world, there are times where, sure, I mean, you always fall in love with whatever you're working on, but sometimes you're in love with stuff you're working on. And when you're in love with it, I feel like the sort of the borders blend as to, your sound designer and your mixer and this and that and your editors and you kind of wish, maybe if you're not on the same page, you sort of wish, damn, I wish I would have done that a little different. But so if you're running the entire thing and you're able to do it that way, I think you can, as much as many resources can be very helpful at times, sometimes you kind of want one voice in the room. Mm-hmm. And when you have that, you can really, I could take down the dialogue here and bring that up, or, do that to, to complement and support. So yeah, I can see that, and I think the two of them kind of did that on this because you could tell that they were really when they were talking about stuff in the mix that they had prepped prior and had very intense conversations about. And they're like, "Oh, let's do that thing. Remember with the okay, we're gonna a little shorthand." So it was fun.
And they were also really open to anything that we said. If there was something we're like, this isn't working for me, or I have a problem with it, we would be able to discuss why and what the solution was, so that everybody felt comfortable with what was happening. It was
and was this before or after Duncan had done Masters of the Air?
I think he was. I think he had just finished or was doing. I'm not.
I love this full circle of it. Seriously, like Band of Brothers is my favorite show of all time.
Awesome.
Duncan did your movie. David Frankel is bringing the 30th anniversary of Miami Rhapsody to the festival as well. So I love that.
Oh, is he going to be there?
Yeah. He was there last year, and he'll be here this year. He's a Coconut Grove local, so he's a big supporter. So
fantastic!
Yeah. So last year he was like our keynote speaker, and then this year he's bringing the 30th year anniversary of Miami Rhapsody. So he'll probably be at most events.
Oh my God! I'm still working on getting out there, and Rachel's absolutely going to be there. But
yeah.
Now that makes it even more. I'll try harder.
Yeah. Hopefully in the future when our festival grows, we're going to be like, hey, here's airplane tickets, people. Here's we're just.
Oh no, it's not even that.
We're running things on such a tiny.
No, we get
budget.
it.
Well, Rachael, Michael, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for trusting us with your movie.
We're
so excited to play it at our festival.
It's exciting.
We're excited for you
we'll
guys.
See you when I'm there.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully see you
in a few weeks.